actually don't want to start with Musk. I don't want to start with Trudeau. You can get rid of that. I want to start differently. Labour could scrap free prescriptions for over 60s. So if you don't freeze them to death, we're going to make sure they don't get the medicine, right, that will make them better. What the hell is he thinking, Benedict? The man's a nutter.
I tell you what, it's a hell of a way to reverse the demographic crisis that we have in this country. We have too many old people. I know. Let's turn off the heating and let's limit their access to medicine. And also, let's pass assisted dying whilst we're at it. You know, there's a perfect storm of ways to completely upend the demographic crisis. Maybe it'll work. Who knows? Obviously, this isn't exactly what they're trying to do. It's just a rather unfortunate thing that we're lumbered with a prime minister who seems to be trying to get as many bad things out of the way early. But the problem is we just don't know how many bad things he's got in store for us, so it just sort of keeps on getting worse. But I tell you what, it's a great day to bury bad news, given all the Musk stuff that's going on. He could run out all sorts of announcements, and actually many people wouldn't be paying attention to it.
That's exactly why I wanted to talk about it first, because I believe that many old age pensioners listening to this will be as offended as I am, because of course the big news is that from July, Benedict, I know it's impossible to believe, but I am 60.
Good Lord, I'm going to fall off my stool. How on earth have you managed to get to 60? That's
brilliant.
Very
well, certainly by drinking.
You don't look a day over 59.
Not drinking as much as you. Let's talk about the big news story of the day. Elon Musk calling for Farage to be replaced. We saw those great love-in pictures from Mar-a-Lago a few weeks ago. We heard all the rumours about a huge donation to the Conservative, to the Reform Party, and Labour and the Tories are running around saying, is this right, is this right? All of a sudden, over the weekend, on the back of this Tommy Robinson comment, I think, Nigel Farage says, no, I don't want Tommy Robinson in my party. That's not how I see it. Musk fires back. Reform needs a new leader. I mean, this was from nowhere. What is your take on this? Is this because they've been playing with this guy and they're always going to get their fingers burnt, or what?
I think Elon Musk doesn't have a good grasp of the current lay of the land of British politics, is ultimately what I think. I think that he's sort of gone down a bit of a rabbit hole, and he has come up with a certain perspective that is not accurate. And I would say that even amongst sort of right-wing reform voters, Tommy Robinson is politically very toxic. I know that there are lots of people that like him. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. He's never going to be a mainstream political figure. No party can touch him. It's sensible that Farage, who, if you want Farage to be prime minister or anything approaching that, needs to win over moderates and centrists at some point and disillusioned Labour voters. I'm sorry, you can't be getting into bed with...
All right, but no, and I agree with that myself personally, but the point that Ben Habib made, and I would love to have had you on together, was, and he didn't use Tommy Robinson as an example, but what he said was that Boris Johnson and Keir Starmer became centrists. That's why reform, certainly on the right, grew. His criticism of Farage on this show 45 minutes ago was that he doesn't want the Reform Party to become centrist and moderate. He wants it to be out on a limb saying the things that need to be said, which begs the question to you, as I put to him, can you get elected in the United Kingdom by going out on a limb, or do you have to, at some point, try and gain some of that middle ground?
I think you absolutely can get elected on the right. It takes a bit of bravado, it takes some bravery, and I also think you can do that without sort of aligning yourself with somebody with multiple criminal convictions for an array of things. And I know that people are trying to say that Tommy Robinson is a political prisoner. All prisoners are political by definition. It's a really foolish thing to try and spin that. Ultimately, he's been in prison for a myriad of things, including intent to supply Class A drugs and assault. Yeah, I'm sorry, but there are reasons beyond his political views why he is politically unpalatable. And I understand Ben Habib has very real concerns about the democratic direction of reform. And they're concerns actually that I sort of share, because reform is at a very delicate stage in its life. I know it's doing very well in the polls, but that's partly because the other two parties are doing very badly. It is buffeted by external forces beyond its control. Elon Musk is one of those. But realistically, Farage does not have to move to the centre to win. He can stay on the right and still win. He just has to convince centrists that actually the Overton window has shifted, that he is not some sort of nightmare fascist about to goose step his way down Trafalgar Square, that he is going to do things in the best interest of the country. And I think when it comes to things like grooming gangs and all that sort of thing, centrists, normal people, moderate people, consider this stuff to be abhorrent and beyond the pale. That's where he will pick up that vote, by saying what normal, decent people think about these things and saying, look, It's fine to have some right-wing views on things like law and order. It's normal, in fact, to have these views. That's where he'll win it, not by allying himself with people like Tommy Robinson.
When you say win it, do you believe that Reform under Nigel Farage could win the next election?
As things currently stand, I don't know if they could win, but they could certainly overtake the Conservatives from the current position. And that would give them a good launch pad potentially to win the next general election, or who knows what might happen in terms of the political chicanery of coalition building. I don't think they would build a coalition, but that's why I'm saying as things currently stand, because that's with Kemi Badenoch as leader of the Conservative Party. I think things change if, as I suspect they will, they get rid of Kemi Badenoch. And then, of course, they can go one of two ways. They can go for the slightly more sort of centrist direction. They can get a James Cleverly in or something like that, which I think would be the death knell for the party. Or they could get in somebody like a Robert Jenrick, who I think would, A, be more inclined to do a deal with Reform, but would also, B, be much more of a threat to Reform because he speaks much more of their language.
Do you believe that Kemi Badenoch won't last?
She won't last, no.